It is recording. I mean, Will, sorry.
All right, your question. The question was, what events do we have at my church that are family events? What major events, and then what also would I like to see that us do as a family events? I go to MacArthur Boulevard. We do a pretty good job, I think, of being family oriented. We do family mission trips, for example. Uh, we also have a family retreat that we do. I'm really impressed with that. Honestly, the first thing I would think of is I would like to see us do more to help give parents materials for discipling their children at home. Beyond that, I could also say, sometimes on Sunday nights we have, special things. We may have a guest speaker with the students, and something completely different going on with the adults. I'd like to see, an occasional, Sunday night event that brings families together and has, a specific family focus.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there are a lot of ways that you can turn normal events into things that can help families talk with their kids at home about just faith and different things. So we talked a lot about VBS, and I think it's a great idea to have like a family or parent dinner before VBS even starts to help them think through this is what your students or your children are going to be learning. And then here's how you can be interacting with them at home, what questions to be asking, what experiences you can be sharing with them. Um, and then I've also seen my church has done a lot of father daughter, um, father son, different types of retreats like that that help the kids really get quality time with one specific parent. And I think that's been really cool um, for the family to bond more as well.
So, my church is something I've been thinking about for a while. On Wednesday nights, we have a Bible study and a prayer meeting. We get together and we eat dinner, but we separate the children. And there's not many children. There's usually just my three. Sometimes there's five. It's a very small church. Sunday we had 17 outside for service. So, I was thinking on Wednesday nights that if we stayed together as a family, as a group with the older ladies and the middle aged and the young children too, and I took a great class last semester with Chris Shirley, and it talked about small group study and being together as a family, and even thinking about we were talking about with Vacation Bible School and having it family oriented and not segregating so much, how that would bring the parents in and be more uniting and have a discipling effect for the children by the parents, and the parents would be drawn into that. And I just think that'd be a great way to bring unity to Wednesday night, would be to have a Wednesday night study that brought everybody together.
So my church, we like to do dinners together for holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas and that sort of thing. And those are usually really good events where families come together and we'll have a word on the scripture and eat together and spend time with one another. And I enjoy those family times. Things that divide the family, for me as a youth minister, I just think my youth group in general, I bring or I have kids that come in to the church and spend time hearing the word, but their parents don't come in at all. And it just separates their spiritual development from their families. And I'm glad they're getting something, but their families just aren't getting anything because they're not coming to church at all. Some ways we talked about fixing that or addressing that is just teaching the kids how to evangelize their own parents, which we all know is difficult, but important and something that we can just bestow on them, that the things that you've learned here and that you've brought into your life and that salvation that you've accepted is so important that you need to take that to your parents and your siblings and your family. And we've had little success with having youth centric banquets, getting back from camp and having a dinner together where we all talk about camp. And we just need to work on going from that to getting parents to coming back. And I think, like we talked about, just getting that in the kids' hearts that if their parents are not believers or unchurched, that it's up to them to bring that truth to their parents. If we can get them to understand that and really embrace that with their heart, I think we can really make some great strides there.
So much like some of what we've talked about. We are a very small church, and we do a lot of the same kinds of family-oriented gatherings, special events, Valentine's Day, Christmas meals, Thanksgiving meals together. But and there's not a lot of places where we are divided, other than as everyone I think has said, is VBS. We do tend to divide there, and I think that is some of the discussion I would like to see us, even as our church moves forward, is how that we can move into more of a role to not just be a babysitter, I think, as Mike said, but to actually use VBS as what it was meant for, as an evangelism tool to evangelize the home. Because as we're learning in this class, it's the home. The home is the center of the focus. That we need to be moving that the focus from a church-centered focus more to a home-centered focus, and having the parents have that relationship with Christ, and building that into their kids. And so I think that's one area that we lack, is from our church perspective. We do really good job with mission trips, and I also would like to see us as a church, or would like to see the possibility of doing some retreats or a family-oriented camp of some sort. I think anything we can do together as a family, where parents and children are together, they're having fun, but then they're also being challenged by what God says to them, and being able to bring that together in an age-appropriate way, I think is huge. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. And so over a course of a year, the major events in our church that families experience together, or the core things, the major holiday events, Christmas, Easter, baptism was one of the first things that popped into my mind. And the church event that stood out to me, that divides family member. And the reason that word really, it still jumps out at the page for me, divides. And I think that's really the focus of this exercise, is that in anything, we're the body of the church, and as under shepherds, one of the core things that we should be focusing on is how are we worshiping and glorifying Christ to be disciples. And so the focus that stood out to me was VBS, and the reason why is it's more of a task-oriented. Matt had mentioned somewhat of a separate way for me to send my child off for care, and then we get back and say, what did you do? And so my solution would be, what did you learn that we can do, that you have to be accountable tomorrow? And so the church then becomes a vessel for discipleship that involves mom and dad and the child. So that child may be the only Bible that parent reads. And it's important for us to look at nothing in the church should ever be considered a task, but merely a vessel that should always lead back to Christ.